It started with a message that shouldn't have felt strange, but did. "Come home for a while," my mom wrote. "I miss you." Those words stuck with me for days. My mom, Evelyn, wasn't the kind of woman who said things like "I miss you." Growing up, she was the definition of composure, graceful, organized, the kind of woman who made life look effortless. But underneath that calm surface, there had always been something distant, like she was living a life that didn't quite fit her. That summer, I was 19, home from college for a few weeks before a road trip with friends. I didn't plan on staying long. But something about her tone, soft, almost pleading, made me pack my bag and take the drive back to our quiet suburban house. From the moment I walked in, the house felt different. Quieter. Heavier. My dad, Thomas, was still traveling constantly for work, but this time his absence felt like avoidance, not duty. My mom didn't mention him at all. She just moved through her routines, making breakfast, folding laundry, wiping the kitchen counters with mechanical precision, smiling like everything was perfectly fine. But it wasn't. There was a tension in her movements, something sharp and fragile all at once. And then there was her phone. It lit up constantly, names flashing on the screen, sometimes just initials, sometimes emojis. Once, I caught a glimpse of a name followed by a red heart before she locked the screen too quickly. She noticed my glance, and her expression shifted for just a second, like fear or guilt, but it was gone just as fast. That night, she made salmon, my favorite. I hadn't even told her I liked it that way anymore. Halfway through dinner, she set down her fork, looked at me carefully, and said, "You've grown up, Ryan. You're seeing the world for what it really is now, aren't you?" I nodded, unsure where she was going with this. Her eyes lingered on me for a moment longer, thoughtful and sad all at once. Then she whispered something I'd never heard from her before. "Sometimes, you live your whole life pretending. And then one day, you stop. And it changes everything." That night, we sat on the porch together. The silence between us was heavy, full of things neither of us knew how to say. Before I went to bed, she stopped me at the door. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "if I ask you to see something, would you trust me enough not to walk away?" I hesitated, confused. But something in her tone, calm, determined, made me say yes. I didn't understand what I was agreeing to. The next morning, she woke me early. "Dress nicely," she said. "Something that makes you feel confident." No explanation, no hint of what was coming. Just that faint, knowing smile that made my stomach twist. We drove for almost an hour in silence. She played soft, nostalgic music I didn't recognize. When I asked where we were going, she just said, "You'll see." We pulled up to a small, elegant restaurant tucked behind rows of ivy. She seemed different there, lighter somehow. Not happy, but free. She ordered wine. I stuck with water. She asked about my classes, and when I mentioned changing majors from business to design, she smiled. "I always thought you'd do something creative," she said. "You remind me of someone I used to be." The way she said it made my chest tighten. I asked what she meant, and she gave a sad little laugh. "When I was your age, I used to dance. I used to laugh without thinking who was watching. But then life rearranges you. You forget what wanting feels like." She reached into her purse and pulled out a photo, her, barefoot on a beach, hair loose and wild, smiling at someone behind the camera. I barely recognized her. Then she looked straight into my eyes and said, "Do you know how many women disappear without anyone noticing? Not because they die, but because they become someone smaller." I didn't know how to respond. There was something raw in her voice, something I'd never seen in her before. Then she said it, quietly, deliberately. "I want you to come with me tomorrow. It's not a favor. It's a truth. One you need to witness." I asked what she meant, but she only said, "If I told you, you wouldn't come." The next morning, she picked me up early. No explanation, just that same quiet tension humming between us. We drove until the streets grew unfamiliar, until she turned into a gated complex and punched in a code she seemed to know by heart. Inside, the apartment was modern and clean, but there was something hollow about it. Like it existed for a single purpose. "Wait in the living room," she told me. "I'll be right back." She disappeared down the hall. At first, I sat there, confused. Then I heard voices. A man's voice. Low, familiar. Then her laugh, soft, easy, intimate. I stood. My heart pounded as I walked toward the sound. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly. I passed the bathroom, a guest room, then a door that was cracked just enough. I heard clothes rustling. Breathing. Her voice, warm in a way I'd never heard before. Then his, calm, confident. My stomach twisted. I didn't push the door open. I didn't have to. I already knew. It wasn't what I imagined. It was worse. It wasn't an accident, or a moment of weakness. It was deliberate. Chosen. She'd brought me there not to catch her, but to see. I stumbled back, dizzy, every sound around me distant. I left before she came out, sat in the car trembling. My chest hurt like something inside me had cracked open. When she finally returned, she wasn't panicked. She wasn't ashamed. She just looked at me and said, quietly, "Now you know." We didn't speak on the drive home. She made dinner that night like nothing had happened. I stayed in my room, staring at the ceiling, numb. Later, she slid a folded note under my door. "You needed to see the truth," it said. "It's not what you think." I read that line over and over until the words lost meaning. Not what I think. Did she believe she was freeing me from something? Showing me what honesty looks like? The next morning, my dad came home. He kissed her on the cheek, asked about my summer plans. I watched them, strangers in a kitchen pretending to be a family. She met my eyes once. No guilt, just challenge. Like she was daring me to speak. I looked away. That was the last time I saw her the same way. I didn't tell my dad. Maybe he already knows. Maybe this is how they've both survived, pretending until the truth doesn't sting anymore. I wish I could hate her. It would make things easier. But all I feel now is something colder. Pity. The kind that burns every time I remember the look in her eyes, the calm of a woman who had already stopped pretending, no matter who it broke. And maybe that's what scares me most. Because every time I think about her, I wonder if someday I'll do the same.